Good evening, everybody. This is Dave Stevens, and you're listening to WXRW 104.1, RiverWestRadio.com. This is Dave Stevens Speaks, and we have a great show for you guys tonight. Very excited to have a friend of mine and one of the best young up-and-coming boxers. And a year ago, we were talking about what he was going to do, and this guy, he went into the ring and did it. So without further ado, let me bring in my guest tonight, and Jamal James. It's great to see you, my friend, and thanks for joining me. I can't believe we get to say you were the WBA. You can say interim, but I'm just going to say you're the welterweight champion of the world. I mean, what does that feel like now that you get to be introduced like that?
Oh, man, it feels so good. It's been a lifelong journey. And, obviously I'm not done yet. I still got things that I need to accomplish and titles I got to get. But it was definitely a huge step, and I'm glad I was able to get that.
For the listeners out there and for the viewers that are watching, let me just give you a little bit of what that sounded like, that magical night a couple of months ago. Let's just listen to the ringside announcer.
He is now the interim WBA welterweight world champion, Jamal Shango James.
What an amazing night that was. Just to, so many people helped you along the way, but what was that like to have a fight in an arena with nobody, just basically your trainer, your handler, and no friends, no family, not fans? I mean, that had to be kind of surreal, wasn't it?
It was definitely different, you know what I mean? But to be honest, at that time, I really didn't know when I'd be fighting again, because that's when, the whole COVID thing broke out. We were one of the first fights to kind of get back televised and get on the air. So I was just kind of more thankful than anything to get the opportunity, especially, for the title. Obviously, when you do compete, you want your friends and family and fans and stuff, but, I really got no complaints. It turned out great, and I was still able to get that title and bring it back home.
What a great feeling that is. And for boxing fans out there, they're kind of wondering what the unknown is. So the boxers, I mean, you really don't know when you get to fight again. We don't know if we can have you guys in rings and arenas, or they're going to try to do some sort of bubble thing, unlike the MMA. I mean, it's still kind of up in the air for you, right?
Yeah, a little bit. They're starting to work it out now. I know a couple shows had, live audiences there, but they still got to monitor that stuff pretty hard, and they're extremely careful. So, I know a lot of them are still just kind of televised only type of deal, where there's no audience and they're just doing it like that. But, hopefully this thing gets figured out soon, and then, we can get things back on the ball. But, time will tell.
Well, my guest tonight is the WBA welterweight champion, Jamal James, 27-1. He's got that title. You don't have the belt yet. What the heck is going on with the belt, my friend?
Man, I wish I could give you an answer, man. They should have been sent my belt. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it got lost in the mail. I don't know if they, got some super artistic people engraving the names or what they doing. I don't know, man. But
yeah, you get your Oscar, you get it, right? I mean, I don't know what the heck with the belt.
Exactly. I thought I would be able to walk or, go fly home with the title, but with the belt. But I guess they do things differently, So we've been in touch with people. They say they're working on it, but I don't know, as long as people know that I'm the champ, and, like I said, I still got other titles to win. So we just going to keep looking forward and, and figure that out along the way.
It's still sounds so cool to call you champ right now. And I'm wondering, who was your role models? Who did you want to emulate? Was there a boxing style or a technique or something? Some of the bigger names that you had to be you, but you wanted to be like?
Yeah, I mean, I studied a lot of fighters, all that go all the way back. I like to study a lot of old school fighters. So I studied Ray Robinson is like my pound for pound fighter. He's one of my favorites of all time. Obviously, I watched a lot of Tommy Hearns just because he got that height and range like I do. But I also like to watch, a lot of Sugar Ray Leonard just because he had that explosiveness and speed and agility and stuff in the way he moved. But, you can learn something from a lot of great fighters. I watched Willie Pep. I watched Joe Louis. I watched a lot of guys that range from way back in the day to now, and just try to incorporate the good things that they had in their technique and try to incorporate it in mine.
Now, I know you have a big following out there, the Shango Nation. A big shout out to the Shango Nation. What is the source of your nickname?
Shango I actually got from my grandfather. He was from Trinidad and Tobago. And when he moved to Minnesota, he started a music band, like a calypso reggae band called Shangoya. And Shango, that comes from African religion or mythology. And it's basically like the African Thor, the god of thunder, lightning, fire, music, and obviously there's more things that go into him and stuff like that. But I thought it was perfect, to take that name, because for one, that's everything I want to bring in the ring when I come in there, the thunder, the lightning, and the fire. But also because, it kind of had a connection and it kept, my grandfather's name alive because he passed away some years back and stuff. And I knew a little bit of him, got to spend some time with him, but, because his life was kind of cut short, I never got to really have a deeper relationship or get to know, the full history of that part of my family. But I keep it alive through there, through the name that I bring in the ring.
And you keep a lot of things alive because what you do for the community is above and beyond what most athletes, what most boxers do. And you don't get a lot of credit for it. I mean, one of the biggest things you've done is organize a lot of food drives, a lot of things like that. When did you learn at such an early age that you wanted to pay it forward and do so much more than just be a boxer?
Oh, man, that all comes from the organization that I volunteer at. I grew up at the Circle of Discipline in South Minneapolis. You can look it up at circleofdiscipline.org for any listeners or followers that want to check it out. But, amateur boxing is one of its biggest programs, but it's really a organization that kind of focuses on inner city young men and women, those who might be troubled or getting bullied or whatever else. It's open to everybody, obviously, so we got adults in there. I think one of our oldest members is like 75 years old that comes down there. And we just try to mentor and really drop knowledge on these young men and women, man, and instill discipline in them, help them over obstacles that they run into in life or fears that they may have to face. And, just present them with opportunities that they may have not have gotten presented with, given their background and stuff like that. So because I grew up through there and I've seen how it affected me, I see one of our biggest models is giving back. And I just wanted to give that back. You know what I mean? I've never left there. I still train from there. But I do a lot more with the organization now,
Now, when you started your training in the normal mode and then COVID hit, I mean, did you have to change your training? Obviously you weren't around people and stuff, but did you have to change a different mindset and have to do things differently than you had prepared for any other fight?
When we train for a fight, we got to camp up north. That's kind of in a solitary place, in a real small town. So the training itself wasn't too bad, because we just live right there in the gym and do all that stuff. But it was definitely different, because you got to take the test 2 times a week. I think the month of the fight or a month leading up to the fight, you have to be, strictly quarantined, so nobody else can really come into place except, those who are going to be in your corner and stuff like that. So, family members and stuff, it wasn't like they could stop up and visit and wish us, well before we leave or nothing like that. And it was just kind of crazy just because of all the other things that came with COVID. You know what I mean? We're up there training and focused, but then, while we're up there, you got not only COVID, but you got the George Floyd incident that happened, which was right around the corner from the gym and my house. And I got family back in the city, so, I'm worried about them and stuff because, the the whole city was in uproar and you know, kind of revolted around that. And then just other personal things that was happening. You know, I ended up losing my grandma during training because she was going through some health problems, stuff like that. So she ended up passing away. So, you know, just kind of dealing with all the personal stuff, but also trying to stay focused and prepare and keep preparing for the bout ahead. But, you know, we did it, man. And it was a serious journey, and it felt good to be able to win that fight and bring back that world title.
And now
after overcoming.
Yeah, I mean, you shoot for something all your life, and
Right.
it happens in some unique circumstances. But I think I've watched you become stronger, and I watched you during the George Floyd tragedy. I mean, you know, I went to college just around the corner from you at Augsburg, and I saw
Right.
all those areas, and I was at that Target and the White Castles and all those things in that area that you saw. But you know, unlike all of us who can turn the TV off and walk away, you had people, friends, family, everybody that was impacted in this area, and you sprang into action and you did something about it, not only to help the people, but also to help give them some peace of mind during that. And of course, when everything was being shut down, the businesses and everything like that, you helped provide food. I mean, what makes you do those amazing things like that?
You know, that's just how it was kind of instilled as I was raised, you know, through that organization, like the circle of discipline. But, you know, I love where I'm from, you know what I mean? I love Minneapolis. I love Minnesota. I get a lot of support. I get a lot of love from the peer. So, you know, when things like that happen, or especially when that happened in my community, in my neighborhood, I didn't want to be the type of person that was, you know, just quiet about it and not doing nothing about it, not present. You know what I mean? I want to be able to use my platform in order to make a better change because, you know, obviously it was a terrible thing that happened and it was a terrible response, but something, you know, the people are in uproar and something had to happen. But the way I look at it, it's about rebuilding now and making it a difference and changing it for the better. And that's what I wanted to be. You know, that's what I wanted my name tattooed to, you know, that I was somebody that helped bring a positive change, not only to my community, but to my state and hopefully to the whole country when it comes to situations like that.
Jamal, what is the area like now? I know there was a lot of damage and looting and things like that, but are they starting to recover? And even though we're in COVID, is there getting back to a little bit of normalcy?
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. You know, the community came together beautifully and really helped clean the streets up and you know, just kind of try to help fix things and rebuild a little bit. But obviously, there's still a ton of work to be done here. And especially with the COVID still striking like it is, man. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people lost their businesses, losing their homes and stuff. And it's hard, you know, to try to rebuild a whole city when there is, you know, it's not profitable to build a business right now unless you're doing, you know, online businesses or something where you can work from home or something like that. Like restaurants are taking hits, you know what I mean? It's also people don't want to get up and go out, you know what I mean? They don't want to go to certain things unless they really have to. So it has been testing. You know, I obviously feel like, you know, we'll be able to fix things and get back on its way. But I think it's going to take a little bit longer than expected because of everything else that's going on in the country.
And it's like with the politics and everything, it's kind of taking a back seat. But you can fix the buildings, but can we fix what was broken, you know, with the system?
Right. Not, I definitely think we can, but I think we have to change some things. You know what I mean? It's not just about fixing what was broken. You got to change some things around so that it works a lot better so this doesn't happen again. Because I feel like that's the reason why, you know, it became broken in the first place, because it was only a matter of time. You know what I mean? There's systemic problems that have not been addressed with, you know, our judicial systems. You know what I mean? The policing and how it's enforced, and low income communities, that needs to be, you know, certain different things need to be, you know, changed with that, you know, and just better relationships between the people who are going to be policing those type of neighborhoods with the community. You know, so often we see, you know, police officers policing communities that they're not from, that they don't, you know, really connect with the people in those communities. So there is a disconnect, you know what I mean? And I don't got nothing against police officers. One of my brothers is a police officer. I know a lot of really well-trained and good men and women on the police force, who I value, you know, their friendships and relationships with. But there are still very bad police officers out there that mess it up for all of them. And I think, you know, it's one of those jobs where, like, when you mess up on that job like that, you have the authority to really hurt somebody or take somebody's life kind of with impunity. You know, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. That's the type of things that give the whole, you know, that whole group a bad look when one person does that, or a few people do that. You know, the majority of officers, to me, are not bad, are not, you know, to bully people, or they're really there to help and serve the people. But you just need that small group to be on something different. And when they, you know, do terrible things, then it's gonna make everybody look bad as a part of that community, and it's gonna make people, you know, from that community not trust them at all. So, you know, until we create a better, you know, communication and relationship and close that divide, I think, you know, things are still going to be at odds.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, it's been long needed for this to come to a head. Now it came to a head in a horrible way, but
Right.
my question is, when you're working with the kids in the circle of discipline, and you're working with these youth, how do you educate them about racism when you want to educate them about treating people with equality and inclusion? I mean, me being white, I can't understand or fathom what you go through. Yes, I'm a minority in my own way, but how do you teach these kids that we want you to go out and succeed, but you're going to always have this kind of thing over your shoulder? I mean, how do you educate them?
Well, the beautiful thing about boxing is that you're going to come to obstacles, right? So those are obstacles, unfortunately, that, you know, they may have to face if they're young black men or women, or Latino or Asian, or you know, just of minority descent. You know, you may come across circumstances like that. You may have to face that. But the real question is, are you going to let that defeat you? Are you going to let that mess up your whole, you know, road to success? Or are you going to overcome it? You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm black, but I'm half white. People don't even know that. You know, half of my family is all white. I grew up with a lot of white people and this and that. So I feel like I have a kind of unique look at things because I got both sides of it. You know what I mean? I understand, you know, how the difference in the thought processes sometimes, and how certain things, you know, may look okay, but really, you know, like if a white person says something or does something, they're not really thinking like how a black person or a Latino person might really take it, or how it may really affect them, because they just don't know. So you battle that by just creating a safe place where you can have those type of conversations. You know what I mean? And that's why I think the circle is great, as well as other organizations. Because, like I said, it's open to everybody. So you get white people, black people, Latino people, Asian people. You know, we got flags hanging up from the ceilings from all the places. Those are the people that we serve. They bring in their own flags and we hang them up. And then we just create, you know, like I said, a safe place where we can bring up those topics and talk about it. And it's a safe space, and you ain't got to feel funny, you know, talking about it, and educate each other. That's how you start to fix that problem, man.
I love it.
Not going to change overnight, obviously.
No,
you got to start.
We've been working 250 years against it, and it's still going to take some time, you know. I mean, all these guys wrote all those old laws when they were archaic and they wanted to control people, and it's like, you know what? It's a whole different world. And I think if we could do that and get along with each other and get these, like Minneapolis it's such a beautiful city. It's such a peaceful city. And you guys, you didn't deserve what happened to George Floyd, but Minnesota didn't deserve what happened to a beautiful state like that. It's not like it was New York or California or something like that. But the problem is these problems exist in all of these cities. And that's what we've got to get rid of. And we've got to work better to, you know, educate, get along, change the way we train people, change the way we treat people. And but we could talk about that topic. I want to get back to the positives of you now for the near future. I mean, what is your training now? What is your day-to-day training regime as you kind of don't know what the unknown is?
Well, I've always had the philosophy that you stay ready. You know, you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Till I'm ready to retire, you know, I'm not going to slack on my training. Obviously, you know, I break it down a little bit when I'm in between fights, but I gotta stay in shape. So when a fight does come up, it's not like I'm training to get back in shape. When a fight comes up, I'm training to get prepared for whoever the opponent is. I'm already in shape. I'm just going to that next level. You know what I mean? So I'm still making sure my cardio is up, still making sure that I'm working on my technique, my strength, and all that type of stuff. And, you know, it's my job. You know, this is my career for right now. It's not a long-lived career. It's short, you know, professional boxing is a short career path, but it can be very beneficial if you know, discipline yourself, make the proper sacrifices, got the heart and the hunger for it, you know, and you go for broke. So that's what I'm doing. And, you know, so that I'm just training now and handling other life things. And then once we get, you know, a date start kicking around and then concrete, then we'll, you know, turn the level up and notch it up.
When did you know you wanted to be a boxer? I mean, was there something where you like thinking about basketball or, you know, dancing, and suddenly this just popped into your life?
I literally just grew up, man. So it was just kind of a lifelong thing that happened. You know, my mother brought me down there when I was like 5 years old. And then I just, you know, fell in love with, you know, the whole gym, just the energy in it, the sound of the speed bag and people hitting the bag and working out. It just kind of drew my attention. And then, you know, when I turned 8, I had my first amateur boxing match, and I won that fight. And I just seen, you know, the response, you know, from the people at the gym and from at school and stuff when they found out that, you know, I box and do that. And it just felt good, you know. Obviously, it's a very demanding sport and testing, and you know, not easy. If it was easy, everybody might do it, but you know, you learn a lot from it. It keeps me extremely disciplined, and right now, you know, it's just really making it so I'm able to set some things up in my life.
Well, your smile sure does brighten up a thing, and I know boxing. You guys kind of now have this unwritten competition now with MMA as MMA's gotten more popular. I mean, what's it going to take for boxing to get back into that elite where we talked about Tyson's and Ali's and stuff all the time, as opposed to now where you're competing for MMA type fights?
I think it's getting there. I think, you know, what they needed to do and what they did was put it back on regular TV channels, you know, cable channels, which they did. And, you know, just let people see these fighters more. Obviously, you got to have competitive fights. You got to have fair fights if the fights go the distance. I think for a period of time, you know, you could only, if you wanted to watch boxing, you had to have HBO or Showtime. And then when it was like big, you know, money competitive fights, sometimes, you know, it would be kind of iffy scores, cards, and just outcomes, which made people kind of like, what? You know what I mean? So, but I think all of that is kind of changed up now. I think things are pretty much, you know, fair when it comes to the judges and all that. And I think it's great that it's back on regular, you know, cable networks. You know what I mean? You can watch Fox or FS1 or ESPN, you know what I mean? And you can see some good boxing. You can see PBC and them throw some stuff as well as some other people. And you still got the Showtime and the HBO too. So it's working its way.
Would you ever fight one of those MMA guys if they said, "Hey, I want to come over to the ring," and you get like, you know, the goofball that's out there now that has tried to pop over a couple of times into the boxing ring? I mean, it just seems like they want to be you guys. I don't think you guys want to be them, right?
Nah, I ain't trying to do no MMA. I mean, you know, maybe, man, if the business, you know, the thing is, you know, I love boxing and stuff like that, but we are every professional fighter is doing it in order to get a couple chips. You know what I mean? So if the chips is looking right, the money's looking good, and enough fans want to see it, or they can make it happen like that, then sure, you know, I'll do that. But obviously, I'm not looking at nothing like that too. Now I'm trying to, you know, still establish a bigger name for myself and get some more titles. But, you know, I ain't got nothing against the MMA stuff. It's just two different arts to me, you know. Two different sports, two different arts. People think because they're both contact and physical sports that there's similarities. The only similarity is that you're throwing punches, but the whole art form and everything is totally different, you know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's like, you know, football players want to be baseball players. It's like, yeah, I challenge anybody to get into a sparring match with you in the ring. And speaking of that, when you've hit your goal, and obviously you set goals all the time, but you are the WBA welterweight champ. So what are the goals that you set after that? You're 27-1, but you've gotten to this, but obviously you kind of want to hang on to that belt once you get it for a while, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, I want to unify. I want to be a unified champion. You know what I mean? I think right now we live in an age where it's not like I'm going to be able to break too many records. You know what I mean? When you look at how these guys was fighting in the past, man, these guys is fighting, you know, 2 times a month. They, you know, they going hard. That's before they had, you know, so many different organizational world championship belts or so much weight classes even and all that stuff. So I'm not really trying to, you know, break no serious records or nothing like that, but I would like to be recognized as a unified world title holder. You know, at least make my mark for my time and place in the boxing world and game. And then, you know, when it's my time to start to bow out, or when my family or my corner says, all right, you know, you need to start thinking of the exit plan, then I'll start to bow out a little bit. But right now, you know, my focus is strong as ever. My drive is strong as ever. And we're trying to unify something.
Well, hopefully. And one last question, you know, I got to ask it. Do you worry about injury? Do you worry about CT? Do you worry about all the things that comes associated with your profession that you've chosen?
I'm aware of it. You know what I mean? I don't think I worry too much about it. Obviously, you know, there's risk in it, you know what I mean? Just like anything, but, you know, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. So the only thing you can do is train, man, you know, train. And that's what I do. I stay training. I stay hungry. I try to listen to everything my coaches and my family is telling me, and just keep my hands up, bob and weave. And then, you know, the whole goal is to hit and not get hit. You know, hit and not get hit. Obviously, boxing, so you might get one here or there, but I'm trying to serve more than I receive, you know, so that's the plan. So I'm just aware of it, but I'm not too worried about it. You know what I mean? Because I know that my corner will tell me if they feel like I'm starting to take too much hits, or that my personality or demeanor is starting to switch, or I'm sounding funny. You know, my father and my older brother are in my corner, so they you know, they care about my safety before anything else. You know, they'll pull me, and I wouldn't box if I don't have them in my corner.
Well, my friend, thank you for joining us. Thank you for what you do, what you're giving back more outside the ring. God bless you. And we're going to keep pulling for the Shango Nation. Where can they follow you on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter and everything, right?
Yeah. Check me out. Just look up Shango Nation, man, on all the IG, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. I don't even know if TikTok's still around, but all that good stuff. You know, check me out, follow me. You'll see more of, you know, the other things I do with the circle and in my life on those sites. And I'll let y'all know when we back in the ring, baby.
All right, Jamal. Thank you, and thanks for being a guest. And don't forget to watch us next week. This has been Jamal James, the WBA welterweight champion. I'm Dave Stevens. Follow us every week on Thursday night, 7:30 Eastern. We'll see you next week. Please continue to support the Disability Channel, riverwestradio.com, WXRW, and all the Dave Stevens Speaks platforms. Good night.
All right.